"Nice brachiating," to her friend Savannah Stewart as Savannah dismounted, and I was again reminded why I love my job. I also teach them to be better storytellers. Problems are the main ingredient, I tell them. At the beginning of each term, I tell them to create a character and then give him 5 problems in 1 page. Just before the first recess bell rang, I collected their papers and encouraged them to go outside and play at triple their normal intensity. "When this storm hits," I told them, "it's going to be the end of everything we know and love." This was a game we played. I'd make a dubious proclamation, and their job was to show some skepticism, to investigate, to question adults, especially their teachers. We all glanced out the window, as if the sky might tell us how much time we had left. Several gulls wheeled over the playground, anticipating the spillage of raisins and graham crackers. "My birthday party?" someone asked, after a time, without turning from the window. "Will it be the end of my birthday party?" "Where is it?" I asked. "Golden Gate Park." "Ask for waterproof presents," I said. "Barney?" Kevin asked. "Will it be the end of Barney?" Kevin's mythical dog Barney was a frequent topic. He was an ingenious creation, standing in for actual beings when our classroom conversations had to touch upon the personal, the uncomfortable. He also garnered Kevin the laughs he felt he needed each day. But this time there wasn't much laughter, and I knew some of them were worried about actual pets. "Barney will be fine," I said, "but you may want to keep him inside." Beyond the playground lay the broad, grassy field, and at its far edge stood the sports shed and the tall chain-link fence that kept balls, flying backpacks, and wayward children from tumbling over the top of the high retaining wall and down the cliff. In the distance stood the skyline of downtown San Francisco, quiet and still but for the trembling of its flags. I figured by then the storm must have crossed through Vancouver and made its way into the lower 48. It wouldn't be long now, and here we all sat, energetic and innocent and helpless, like teenagers in a horror movie forest cabin. The bell rang and my kids scrambled for the door. "Get out there and make it count," I said. I kept to my room through the recess break, and through lunch and the second recess as well, declining the first day back after break faculty reunion in the lounge. I tended to avoid the place on days like this. It was always too busy, too full of energy, too noisy with accounts of exotic vacations. For a bunch of public servants, my fellow teachers managed to do a lot of island hopping and helicopter skiing. 4 of them, 3 women and Mr. Benson, who taught first grade, were married to investment bankers. I did have quite a bit of work to do in my room as well, lesson plans and organization for the Chinese New Year/Valentine's Day phase of the teaching calendar. But my primary goal was the avoidance of all that collegial exuberance. It wears me out. Henry made his teacup appearance just before the final bell. A single cloud had breached the frame of my windows, small and compact, with a faint dark core. A warning shot, I thought. I had poured myself a half cup from my teapot, and I was working at my desk when I felt something along the edge of my vision. When I looked up, the steam from my tea had ceased rising. It stood motionless. 3 or 4 inches of linked spirals, loops, whorls, all as still as if photographed. Without thinking, what would there be to think? I reached for it. I was barely able to stifle a gasp when it collapsed back into the mug, sucked in with a force that made me think something huge at the bottom of the mug had taken a great sharp inhalation. I leaned over and looked inside, and there they were, the 4 of them, standing at a railing. I suppose I would have blinked or rubbed my eyes or looked around the room in a weak attempt to make sense of it. I don't remember. Somehow the room vanished from around me, the chair from beneath me. Even the sense of strangeness I should have been feeling did not quite materialize in the presence of this image, which now filled the copper disk of my tea's surface. It was actually Henry's mother that struck me most at the time. She stood over her children, her arms around their shoulders like the eaves of a home.